Well,
Yeah, hi.
this has kind of been my vision for Montessori Lives for forever, which is sort of a gathering of friends and a conversation among friends. And the Australian Montessori community is small enough where we can do that. But tonight I wanted to welcome Steve French, and we're blessed to have Steve finally, after many months of wrangling him, roping him in, finally settled on a date and found ourselves here. So, welcome to Montessori Lives, conversations with notable Montessorians. And Steve French is an adolescent educator and also runs the adolescent program at Templestowe College in near Melbourne. So, Steve, welcome. What's your Montessori story? I love starting with that because nobody really grows up, most of the time, grows up, deciding I'm going to be a Montessori educator. How did you get involved?
Yeah, well, as a sort of a country school and high school boy, I had no idea of it. Um, and oddly, as a primary school student, ask you what you want to be. I wanted to be a teacher, and I didn't get to be a teacher till I was 55 years old. There's a lot of other things happened, and I was an animator for a very long time, and then in yeah, in the early noughties, the 2000s, globalization got made it a bit tough to make a living, and I'd started doing all sorts of little bits and pieces, and I'd started teaching art, and I was doing primary school classes, and then I started doing secondary school classes, and found I was really enjoying it. And I thought, well, why do I get on with adolescents so well? And then realized I'd been coaching adolescent sport for about 8 years. And I love these people. This is great. Um, I spent 1 year doing a postgrad teaching degree, started teaching, and then at a public school, Templestowe College, only place I've ever taught, a group of Montessori families, group of parents was looking for somewhere to send their kids after primary school. And they ended up doing a deal with the principal of our school, which had nearly foundered. He was rebuilding it. And my Montessori knowledge at that point was very tiny, very tiny. But they were looking for a teacher. And I'd come in from, I'd done a fair bit of teaching in my business life, corporate life. I had actually taught tertiary in order to pay my way through secondary teacher training.
Mm.
So I was used to teaching by offering, giving, wanting them to take the reins. And we might not want to mention the name, but Steiner had a big part in this too. Because my daughter was at Little Yarra Steiner at the time, and I'd seen how alternative learning, alternate approaches could really work. So I applied for the job now that they'd set up this Montessori program that was coming the next year. And I think 11 days after I applied for the job, I was on an aeroplane heading for Ohio to train.
Wow.
So, and never looked back.
We're actually good friends with Steiner here. We have had Andrew Hill, the CEO of Steiner Education, on the show, and we've also had Shelley Davidow and other Steiner educators
Oh, I'm
speak.
glad. I'm glad. Sometimes, sometimes I get people go, no, 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 you're there or you're there. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that it's unfortunate that that's an attitude in some Montessori circles where we can't learn from other people outside Montessori. and we're trying to change that attitude because there are differences, definitely, but there are also a lot of commonalities.
No, they're both student-based. Hello, Laureen.
What have you loved about teaching adolescents in particular?
Oh, look, the energy that they have, the vitality is extraordinary. They and so many people go, oh God, you teach adolescents, you teach high school. It's so hard. These kids, give them the opportunity, give them a chance to do real things, and they are amazing. I've just come back from 3 days of camp last week with the 15-year-olds in our 12 to 15 program. They're in their last year with us, and we take them away at the end of the year for a bit of graduation time. And it's a lot of fun in this camp. But there's also some community service and such. And just to spend time with these amazing young people who want to give.
Yeah.
They
There's
want to help. They want to help each other. They want to help the world.
yeah.
And so many schools, so many government schools, public schools have this. So the year 9 is the horror year, and we have to send them off on camps and get them out. And our year 9s, we're blessed with them because we give them meaningful things to do.
Yeah.
They're our leaders. They're the ones who help the others and take care. And we have none of those issues. This one of the gorgeous things about the Montessori adolescent classroom is there's no behavior management.
Mm.
They are, because you're giving them meaningful things to do, they're engaged and they're okay, what's next?
Seems
So
like
it's a constant joy.
so much of social change in history has been led by adolescents and teenagers. And there's a US-based psychologist that I read named Lisa Damore who said that teenagers are heat-seeking missiles for adult duplicity. Have you have you found that? And how do you deal with that if that comes up?
No, because you see that's almost an adversarial position, and they don't treat us as being us, as I refer to my staff, they don't treat us as being on the other side or against them. They recognize, I think, that we're working for them and offering them opportunities. And one sort of great Montessori principle we really try and employ and obey is remove the barriers, and most of the barriers are adults. Get out of their way, allow them to learn, allow them to do what they really want to do. And yes, they want to have an impact, they want to do stuff that's meaningful. Back when this program started, the then principal was really keen to say, hey, if you look at the world now, you get to see very little that adolescents do or have done. There is almost no physical presence of their work. If you look at history, as you were saying, Mark, that it's littered with them. Most of the huge amounts of science and mathematics have been discovered by adolescents because this is a time when the human brain's working at its fastest, its most rapid. So
are there challenges working with adolescents that you've had over the years?
there's always challenges. They are.
What are some of the special challenges that adolescents offer?
Look, one thing I think is, and it's probably common across many Montessori schools, is that we do get overloaded with kids with needs. My kid doesn't fit anywhere else. Montessori is going to solve it. So sometimes there is the weight of, okay, you need to do more, you need to do extra. But most of the problems, I think, come from us. If we get out of their way, if we recognize that almost none of the difficult behavior or antisocial thing is deliberate. This is just kids testing out, finding, sorry, running out of light there, finding out who they are, what their boundaries are. Montessori saw this, neuroscience has now seen it. They need to test, they need to know. They're not trying to be mean to us. And every now and again you fall into that and you go, why are you doing? And you, okay, let me pull back. Let me go. No, you're just a kid. You're just being an adolescent. That's cool. We can let you do that. And it's not the difficulty of working with them. It's the difficulty of working with us.
Yeah.
What are our expectations? What are the adult things that we're imposing on this group of emerging young people?
So talking about difficulties imposed by adults, how much freedom have you had to implement a full, what you would think of as a full Montessori program, and how much barriers have been placed in the way by being in a public setting?
I can sort of poke my nose at Lorraine here because she had it tougher than me. Fortunately, my principals had two principals in the time there, and they've been generally very supportive. So the first one and I were far too similar to each other and butted heads a lot, but there are compromises you have to make being in a public system. We are 60 kids out of 1,200 in a school. So we have to follow the way the school operates. We have to follow timetables. So we don't have uninterrupted student work time, for example. They have breaks when others have breaks, and you can't get that real beauty of work rhythm going. The school has always been adamant that we cannot be a little subculture within the school. So our students have 1/3 of their classes out with the rest of the school. So when I have 2/3 of the time to make it authentic Montessori. So for that, we've had to make compromises, but we've done that in the best way that we think's possible. So I had our international trainers come and look at it and go, no, you've done it well. And we have had, over the years, what have I had, 13 years, Lorraine? I think it's 13. We have had, on average, about a 6-to-1 higher ratio of school captains come from out of the Montessori program, of award winners come out of the Montessori program, of ducks of school come out of the Montessori program. So there are compromises, but there are bonuses. We have a fully equipped science laboratory. We have a fully equipped gymnasium. We don't get to use these very often, but when we really need to, that's a bonus that the public system can offer. Our fees are minuscule compared to fully private Montessori schools. So,
and it's choice to enter, right? Or is it a lottery?
no, it's choice to enter. We have 2 Montessori feeder schools in Mitcham Primary School, which is like us, has a Montessori program within a government school. We have Northeastern Montessori, and we have several other independent or Steiner-based schools nearby that also
Mm.
have fed into the program. So in comparison to what we've been advised by our trainers and overseas partners, who are saying, generally people are saying 75 to 80% coming from Montessori backgrounds. We have about 35% at best.
Mm.
So we do have screening processes, but if kids are independent learners,
Mm.
when families are open, yeah, we've been really lucky. And
Mm. Have you found that it makes a difference to your students' progress and suitability for your program if they come from Montessori, or is it like this is a whole new stage of life and it doesn't really matter where they come from?
I think the whole new stage of life is really important. It is the turning point that we have had. We do lose students. Being in a school where the alternate choice is literally just over there. They don't, if they're not happy and they're not doing well or they're discontented, they don't have to move schools and go somewhere else. They go, hey, all we're going to do is move to the next classroom virtually.
Mm. And
on average, we have 2 to 3 students a year that will move before their time. On average, the great majority of those have been kids who've had Montessori primary backgrounds. It's been quite unusual in those terms. The ones that have made the decision that them and families at 12, 13 years of age to come to us have stayed with us.
Mm. Why is it that students generally leave? What are the reasons generally that they'll give?
The reasons that they give are not generally the real reasons. The real reason is almost always, I don't want to take responsibility for myself.
Mm.
I don't want to make the hard choices. We have had, and look, I'm fortunate in the public system. I can keep checking their reports, check how they've gone. We've had, I think, 34 kids over the 13 years move from out of the program. 4 of those have improved their results.
Mm.
3 of those have, when asking to leave, have said, no, I need more order. I need more structure. I need to be told what to do. I can respond to that.
Mm.
Most of them are going, oh, I want to be told what to do, but I don't want to do it.
Mm.
They're the ones that,
Yeah.
okay, if often for the health of the program, it's been good. We've had large groups move. We had 8 kids move once
Mm.
within a month of each other.
Mm.
And the program flourished because of this
Yeah.
group that wasn't being independent
Yeah.
was no longer there. So,
And how much buy-in do you ask from parents? Is it more of a lifestyle change that you're asking from parents, involvement from home, or is it because you're in a public system, parents don't have to buy in as much as they might in a private Montessori program?
look, I think we're asking for a similar buy-in, but what they win is they get the same sort of contact that they probably had in primary school with school and with staff. Most parents in a secondary school, you get contact twice a year. You get a parent-teacher interview, you get a couple of reports. You really don't get to talk to the school and understand what's going on.
Mm.
We're desperately keen to know our parents and know our families, because the more we know about our students, the better we can support them. So, yeah, I talk to families a lot. I really try and involve them. they're also in a system where the rest of school is giving them marks and grades and elephant stamps and whatever, and we're not. So we're asking them for a huge amount of trust in us, in that, yes, in 3 years we're going to spit something out that is wonderful, but in the meantime, all we're going to do is formative assessment. So yeah, personally at TC, we have asked for big commitment from families and big understanding that, yeah, this is a really important time for your kid, and you need to, the more that you can be involved with us, the better result we can give you.
So you've been able to push back on summative assessment, and are there other things that you've had that really clash with Montessori where you've had to draw a line? For example, in Queensland, we have PBL, Positive Behaviour for Learning, which is their classroom management system that's very much rewards and punishment based, and it makes it quite difficult to do Montessori if you have to implement PBL in full. Are there things like that at Templestowe where you've had to really push back and draw a line and say, sorry, this is not compatible with Montessori at all, and we cannot do it and still maintain a Montessori program?
I think we've been pretty lucky in that Templestowe is regarded as a very progressive school overall. And they've been up there in education awards the last few years, and they are trying to do a whole lot of different things. And we have some very creative programs going on at the school. And we keep telling them they're trying to be Montessori, but they won't actually admit to it. They won't fully commit to it. But they are very much aimed at student-centered learning and at giving the kids the opportunity to drive what they're doing themselves. So we have lots of little fights and little problems, but it hasn't been too huge. Principals only reported me to the education department 5 times so far, for one of which were my fault.
What have you been reported for?
Oh, I think the most important one was me standing up for for consent and relationship education. One of our 13-year-old girls had been harassed by a guy at school, an older boy, and I wasn't getting the response out of our leadership that I asked, so I went to the parents. And our school was always very, oh yeah, we love feedback from parents. We love the community is important to us. So I went to community and got their feedback, and no, it wasn't quite the expected thing to do. Wasn't allowed to sell any bad points about school.
And what's been the reaction from your program generally, from school leadership and from department people who've had contact with you?
Look, school leadership has generally been very good. And my first principal helped set it up. A subsequent principal did his curriculum training in the office right next to our classroom. And when he wanted to get experience of what was happening, he'd come in and watch us instead of going to watch other classes. So they've fortunately been very supportive of us. And yeah, now that I'm in the process of leaving, the advertising this week for a replacement for my position within the school, they're actually committing time and money to the new person to give them time and payment to run the program. So that's that for me is really exciting, that they are committing to the future of the program at the school. And lots of people are saying, oh, it's not going to be the same without you. And well, it's not a Steve French program. It's a Montessori program. It will continue. And yeah, fortunately, leadership is committed to that. They've always, we have a big school. We've got 4 assistant principals. So they've always had an assistant principal whose role is supporting us. So.
Have they shown interest in the differences between the students, the outcomes that you've seen and the behavior of your students? Have they noticed those differences? Shown interest? Why?
They have. They try and copy it, but while still following tradition or somewhat traditional systems.
Hmm.
It's a little to me like lots of people who want to change education look at what other schools do, what the good schools do, and what the Finnish education system does, and what they don't do what Maria Montessori did, which was look at students.
Mm.
You know, we look at schools and ask what they do. Why on earth? Why? Let's look at people who are learners and see what they need. And yeah, for all its benefits, Templestowe still looks at, you know, what the schools do, what the great education writers say, what does Finland say.
Mm.
Whereas, yeah, we still look at those young faces in the classroom and go, hey, what do they need? What do they need now? What are they saying? What is working for them?
Mm.
They're our best resource in terms of discovering what we need to do. And fortunately, if you give them a chance, they'll tell you. They're not hesitant. I saw some eyes roll there. They're not hesitant in letting you know. And
So do you have
it
any advice for your successor?
look, take that time. Don't try and do everything at once. Trust in it. You need to take the time to trust in these kids. You need to take yourself and your expectations out of it as much as possible. And that's really hard. I mean, I have to do that consciously still almost every day. So 13 years of doing it, I still have to go, no, Stephen, no, this is you. This is you wanting this. Are these kids going to get something out of it? Should I stop those 3 kids who appear to be doing nothing but chatting to each other when there's all this work to be done? Do I stop that? Or are they doing something that is actually meaningful and powerful to them?
Mm.
And I'm always coming back and asking myself and going back to the invisible teacher in the classroom, okay, is this my expectation? Is this something that the adult is imposing? Am I getting in the way of young people growing and developing?
Mm.
Uh, yeah, usually I am. Usually I'm. These they will find ways. They
Mm.
will find ways to improve themselves, to self-construct.
Yeah, that's such an important principle, isn't it? That the adult being able to get out of the way and recognize when our ego is really imposing our own needs on students instead of listening to them.
Yeah, and it's there is so much in allowing them to make mistakes,
Mm.
allowing them to get it wrong and to find a way back. And
Mm.
I keep telling this to potential parents is that, hey, if a kid is an adolescent is doing something that I think is not the best way to do it, who am I really to say that's the best way? Probably, I think that 75% of the time they are going to fail, but they're going to then come back and find a way through. If I tell them they're really not learning, 25% of the time they don't fail. They're doing something that I think, no, this isn't going to work, and it works. And I go, yeah, I'm glad I didn't stick my head in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
Thank you, Belvedere.
I have a 15-year-old daughter who I lovingly call my teacher because she has made me just reconsider just about every principle I thought was sacred. And it's generally been that she's turned out to be right in the things that are good for her. And I could have sworn, nope, you're making a big mistake here. You need to listen to me. She just gets in my face. And then finally I listen to her and see, actually, yeah, you're right. This is better solution for you. So it's really been a case of, a lot of us can get away with pushing our wills on primary and younger children because they're more malleable, but that you don't have that
Yeah.
luxury with teenagers.
No, no, they're going to tell you, and they're going to find ways to do it.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
but
yeah,
but when you give them the chance to be positive about it, and you give them the chance to, okay, yeah, you come up with an alternative, man, they love it, and they love. It's sort of, yeah, we can get to show the adult, but we can do it in a positive way. It's a joy.
there's been a lot talked about, written about in a recent year or two about the mental health crisis with teenagers, and particularly since that book, The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt came out. Um,
I've only just started reading it, but yep.
yeah. What are your thoughts about that? Have things changed in your view, and where do we
Oh,
go?
look, yeah, things certainly appear to have changed. I'm not sure if we're getting, as I mentioned earlier, more kids into our program because there's this, fear of increasing problems. Look, I think I've been lucky in some ways because I suffer from depression. I'm neurodiverse. I'm autistic. I bring that up in the classroom. I open myself up to go, hey, is this what a depressive looks like? It's this. I'm a pretty happy soul, and there are times when it's a struggle, and many, many times over the years, I've had kids be really thankful that we're ready to discuss it and allow it to happen.
Mm.
And I've had kids go on into careers in trying to help other students with mental health issues. I've got a child with severe mental health issues. The Montessori approach actually can be really rewarding and really helpful to these kids because allowing them to explore their learning through their own lens, through their own experience, is so different to, no, this is what you have to learn today because all these other kids are learning it today. Yeah. We had one camp because adolescents, we do it. We do at least 3 5-day camps a year. And on our farm camps, we would have farm work in the morning, and in the afternoon we'd have some sort of educational focus. And on one of our camps, 4 years ago, it was a mental health and relaxation focus because one of our kids needed it, and we did it for all. And last year, she thanked me for saving her life because it allowed her to do what she needed to do. And it was also a beautiful opportunity for everyone else around her to get some of that benefit as well. So look, I'm honestly not sure there is more happening. One thing I do feel sure about is parents feel they have less and less time. We feel as a society we're busier and busier. And we make ourselves busier. We don't have to be. So schools are asked to do a lot more caring and parenting than they used to do. And that's in our wider school, the amount of help and psychological help and students with needs has gone up exponentially.
Steve,
Yeah, we get it in Montessori as well, but if you let them be themselves, they can find success. And yeah, one of the great joys for kids with anxiety is to find out they can do things. We just had, as I said, we went on our grad camp last week. 3 years in, one of our kids got to sleep in a tent for the first time. He actually managed to do it. His parents had always had to come on camps and stay nearby. And he's really excited now because he can go camping. He's done it himself.
And Steve, what about your work-life balance? How have you managed that? Have you found the secret that many Montessori educators eludes us?
Look, it took a long time. As I said, I've been at this 13 years. And in some ways, Montessori was my savior for a while because the year I did my training, I went to Ohio for 5 weeks and came back, and my wife of 19 years said, I liked it more when you were away. So my life in some ways fell apart, and I replaced it with Montessori, and for years I put everything in, and then I did get to a point where I had to go, hey, burnout can be real. So I have deliberately placed one of my artworks behind me tonight. I started about 3-4 years ago painting seriously. I used to work in animation. I spent years of my life drawing for a living. And drawing and painting are very different, but I taught myself to paint. I got involved in artwork, and then, yes, well, whether it started 3 years ago, but 3 years ago, I made a very conscious decision to go, you have to stop sometimes. You have to separate life and work. Yeah, so it happens when you get a bit older too. And so, yes, I paint a lot. I've had a couple of exhibitions. I still animate a fair bit, and I dedicate, generally weekends to that, or at least I have to do at least an hour's worth a night. That's non-negotiable. And the great thing is that both animation and painting mean that once you start, it often goes a lot longer than that, takes a lot longer. And my focus becomes what's going on in front of me and what I'm doing and what I'm discovering. And it honestly makes you fresher when you go back to the things you have to think about for work.
So
And
is there life after Montessori? What's your future?
oh, you know, it's tough. It's yeah, my body is the main reason that I had decided to retire. Although then I got this offer to move to Taiwan and not retire, which was just too big an adventure to say no to.
Can you say more about what that adventure entails?
Yeah. Sorry, I was just thinking about life after Montessori. I don't know if any of us can give it up and look at it. Um, so I turned 72 in a couple of weeks' time, although I keep looking at one of my mentors, Pat Ludick, who I know was still teaching at 84, or still running her school and teaching at 84, and go, well, Pat's going to do it. Why can't I do it? Um, due to a lot of poor younger life decision, my knees are a mess. I struggle to move a lot. And I just don't like being cold. I'm sick of Melbourne. But I'm woeful at stopping things, and well, yes, I'll volunteer to do anything and keep going. So I knew I had to do something. So 3 years ago, when I met the new crop of kids that year, I went, these are the guys that I'm going to see through. I'll They'll get to the end of their cycle, and I'll finish that cycle with them. And I have been discovering that I'm doing a lot of last things and doing it really positively because of that decision and enjoying it with them. So, yes, I decided to retire. And then in December last year, got a call from a friend who runs a Montessori elementary primary school in Taiwan and said, we're looking at starting an adolescent program and we want you to run it. And I thought about that for, I reckon, at least 30 seconds. How many adventures like this come to you, once you're in your 70s? Yeah, I don't feel like I'm in my 70s. It's crazy. But it was just, yeah, wow, let's go do it. Let's go find out. And so I'm heading there at the end of February. The person running the school and 3 of the students came out for months and stayed with us. So I know some of my upcoming students, and
Mm.
it'll be a huge change. I'm going from 60 kids in a program in a school of 1,200 to starting a program with 10 kids in a school of 70.
What's the weather like there?
Warm. They they came to Melbourne in July in a horrible winter, and it was 35 when they left. So yeah, um it's far north Queensland weather. Basically, it's hot, it's humid, but I don't mind it hot.
That'll be a
Humidity, I struggle with. The hot, give me hot. And 40. I grew up on a farm. 40 degrees was when you went out and started work. So,
Let's talk about the big picture a bit. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges faced by Montessori education in Australia?
oh, profile, getting the message out. It is education in Australia is so homogenous that everyone does primary school the same way. Everyone does high school the same way. All the discussions I hear, especially on radio, I'm a great ABC listener. It's all the same voices, and we're not doing ourselves a whole lot of favors in terms of how we get the message out. How are we using social media? our kids, all our kids, our adolescents, are fervent disciples of social media. Why can't we get involved in that? How do we let people know that this is a serious pathway that can be taken? And virtually every Montessori conference I've been in for 14 years now has been, how do we educate public and parents?
Mm.
And it is really weird because I think it's a fairly unknown fact that in 1937, the Victorian government decided that all Victorian primary schools were going to be Montessori.
Mm.
The whole system was going to be changed. And then, unfortunately, with World War II and Italy being the enemy, that was taken off the board.
Mm.
So I also think there's a great hope in AI, because AI is going to take over a lot of regular jobs, some menial jobs, but it's going to take over a lot of tech, math science jobs as well. Service industry and people skills are going to be huge. And the one thing that we offer far more than typical education system is turning these young people into communicators, people who care about others, and work well with others.
Mm.
And we are still, when we have parent nights or days or whatever, we're still selling the sort of famous Montessorians. Yeah, Taylor Swift, Beyonce, yeah, Sergey Brin, Larry Paul, yeah. We really need to be able to sell our kids,
Mm.
follow our alumni and go, hey, look at this. We've got this many people doing this. We've had this many kids go into medicine from our program. We've had this many kids go and start their own businesses. We've had this kids do this, that, the other. We've got to show that, yeah, there is successful life coming out of it. And breaking that singular model of education in Australia, it's tough. It's
We're a very conservative country in many ways, and we like our traditions, I guess.
yeah, and like I don't know, the same people get to talk about the same things. I don't think we should have voices on that project and on discussion programs. We should be pushing those sorts of things and using the successes again that our alumni have had.
Yeah.
If I knew the silver bullet, I would have employed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much more I want to ask you, Steve, but I know there are a lot of people listening who know you, and I want to offer an opportunity for people to ask questions or make comments. Does anybody have anything they'd like to say to Steve or ask him?
Throw open my chat window just in case. God, I've either done a wonderful job or I've bored them silly. One of them.
Well, while they're thinking, I'll ask you, do you think there's any areas where you think Montessori needs to be updated to better fit the modern world? Is is
Um,
is part of our problem that, whenever we talk about Montessori, we we pin this image of an elderly Italian woman dressed in black, who died 72 years ago, and we kind of pin ourselves as obsolete and old, rather than painting Montessori as a forward-looking scientific pedagogy that's you know.
Yeah, this is the woman who talked about supranature and was going, there is, we have to embrace change. She was huge about embracing change in the world and looking at it and looking at, okay, what do we take from it? Don't lose your humanity to it, but embrace what is on offer. Take the best of it. Be a discerning consumer of change. And that's something we're desperately trying to do within our classrooms, is go, yeah, this is, look at this. I mean, we've had last year before, we worked directly with students in Manila and Tokyo. And I spent weeks before working with the schools over there and the teachers and setting things up to make sure it was going to happen. And we had a week of working together. And on Monday, we're facilitating and organizing it. By Tuesday, the kids are on Discord with each other and we're forgotten. We didn't matter anymore. Right? And they took elements of social media that they knew that was their world. They were able to work with each other and do it positively and go, no, this is, this is a tool. We've got this. I think it's up to us to keep letting kids know that these are tools, right? This is, where is it? This is not the be all and end all, but it's a huge part of your life. Make the good choices. Do what works for you. So yeah, I've never seen Montessori as a staid or old-fashioned way. We have one unit in our humanities. Every 3 years we cycle through them. But we have one unit on women in history, and our kids are great. Every 3 years they're going, one of the greatest women in history was an educator. And I don't push her. They bring her up. They respect what they're going through and what she did. So, yeah, again, I think we have to probably, push the old lady in black pictures aside and go, hey, there's a reason Tay Tay and Queen Bee are who they are. These are people who've used the skills they learnt through Montessori to do great things.
What are some of the things that, what are some of the favorite lessons that you've been taught by adolescents over the years?
Oh, taught by adolescents. Wow. So you have to sit back and remove myself here and go, hey, some of the favorite things I've done. Look, I think that the biggest one is that there are so many pathways to a result. This is not the only way to do it, Steve. This is, and really to say yes to a maybe. Maybe, I want to try this. It might work. And again, no, oh God, not again. Oh, please stop it, Stephen. Yeah, of course you can. Of course you can. Look, some of the most beautiful times has been watching them work with kids at kindergarten and watching them work with elderly and aged care facilities. Again, it comes back to what Dr. Montessori said. She said adolescents are on the edge of adulthood. They're actually excluded from adulthood. Preschool kids are excluded from primary school. Age residents are excluded from adulthood. I spent, when I first set this up, was in my first year. I spent 2 weeks preparing my adolescents to go and work with and talk to elderly people and how to ask questions. And we walked down to a local aged care home. It was a 12-minute walk. It took us about 2.5 minutes to sort of introduce them and set them up. And 30 seconds after that, I could not hear myself think. And yeah, the lessons, rather than specific lessons, Mark, the lessons are let them go, let them do positive things they can do. And you shunt them now and then to go, maybe that's a bit, you don't stop them. You don't go, no. Maybe it'd be better if you tried this, but allow them to surprise you. Allow them to impress you. Allow them to succeed in front of their peers, because that's what, and really try and be, it's a luxury in comparison to the public school system. It's a luxury. We have so much time with them because we can go, hey, this is, you're going to do really well if I give you the option to do this. And those kids will create something that their peers go, oh, wow. And success is a glorious thing for an adolescent.
Steve, one of the things that has really stood out for me in talking with you is the importance of the personal transformation of the educator. What do you think it's probably the most difficult thing in becoming a Montessori teacher, right? And teacher training in general, because you can't mandate people to transform. It has to be from within. What do you think's the secret of that personal transformation of the teacher that really makes an effective Montessori educator?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think back to my first couple of years because, now that we've got people have been doing it for a while, there's enough staff to go to the others to go, no, just wait, just wait, just wait. It's going to happen. And it is like it comes from me to them of, is this you wanting this to happen? Are you imposing yourself? Is it? I've got this wonderful classroom assistant who a couple of days ago I had to stop her and go, no, you're organizing, you're telling them what to do because you need it to happen. They don't need it to happen. Look, taking out summative results is a great thing because we focus especially on our students in their first year in high school, just on, well, I think what Montessori called normalizing them, but just getting them comfortable in the secondary school environment, comfortable with themselves, comfortable with their peers. And it is often, we've created our own reporting system within the school, getting the staff to look at that and see how valuable that is and the sorts of things that they're reporting back on, which all came from the big dog. If you don't know the big dog, it's came from NAMTA in the States. It's a great Montessori tool. I'm not sure of the secrets. if there are magic ways to do it, but it has, like in my experience, it really has been teachers who have come to profession a little later in life after life experience of their own. Have been able to see you don't have to teach. Yeah, that's one of the yeah, one of the great problems of education is that we have teaching, which what should we have? We should have learning, but we don't have. Let's keep saying to them, hey, I can't teach you. I don't know. I can't make mistakes every day still. I don't know everything. Yeah. That's why, like in the public system, yeah, we're still referred to as teachers. I'd love to be referred to as a guide. But yeah, no magic answer, but okay,
Oh, you
putting
gave
them ahead of you.
Life is the greatest teacher if we can listen to it.
Yeah, and like I keep telling my kids and tell other teachers that I am the least important person in that room. And they've got to try and realize that hey, I'm the past. I'm just helping these people come. They're the future.
It must be so empowering for your students to hear you say that.
I hope so. I don't know. Not them. They look. I do discuss Montessori philosophy and philosophy in general, but yeah, try and discuss why we're doing the things we do, why we approach learning the way that we do, and that a lot of that is also putting it back on them and going, well, this is your learning. You're not doing it to please me. Steve, what do you think of this one? Why do you want my opinion? Why don't you show one of them? So it's putting it back to them. You're not doing this for us. You're doing this for yourself. And if you're sitting there playing games in class time, hey, yes, you will annoy me. I'll mention it, but the consequence is on you. It's not on me.
Steve, this has been such a wonderful experience to have an hour of your time. Thank you so much for this conversation. It's been,
as I said in the introduction, I can talk about Montessori a lot, but it was lovely and it changed my life trajectory. It has given me so much. Dr. Montessori said it is an honor that these young people share their lives with us. And I have met some of the greatest people I'll ever know in my classrooms. So,
well, it's been an honor having you on Montessori Lives. So thanks again. And thanks everybody for being here with us. And I'll look forward to seeing you at the next Montessori Lives, first and third Mondays of each month. Thanks everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you. Great to see you, people.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Ta-da.
Bye.
You're a legend. You are. You're a living legend.
We love him.
Steve, all the very best. It's been
Thanks.
all the years I've had dealings with you and visiting Templestowe. Thank you so much for all your years of service to Montessori and all the wonderful children you've taught. They've been given a gift with you. So well done and good luck in Taiwan.
Thanks, Sarah Jane.
And really sincerely and go Cats.
Steve, I would say something too, that you didn't come across the word before, but one of the things that you taught me and showed me in your mentorship was an absolute love for the child, for the adolescents. In everything that you did, that was what was so obvious. So that would be something teachers need to have and guides need to have in Montessori. So thank you for that.
They are amazing. They can give so much. And when you see them blossom.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thanks, Laurie.
See you, Steve.
Okay,
Maybe in
Great.
Taiwan.
great to see you, Alex.
ya.
Thanks,
See
honey.
ya.
Uh,
Bye.
We'll stay in touch. See you.
Bye.
Okay, thanks, Mark.